Hello, friends. Hello, friends. All right. How you like that clickbait, huh? I'm going to be on here for a very, very short time. Very short time. It's an unplanned live stream. I was thinking about the the reaction video I did last night to Jeff Berlin's interview, and it was making me think about what he said about there is no base method. And I'm just thinking a little bit more about that. There is no base method in the way that there is for classical instruments. Um, so what I want to do, real quick, as I've been thinking about this, um, as I've been thinking about this, I just want to explore some things. And if you're around, cool. If not, I'm going to lead us up. So I went to Cal State East Bay in the Bay Area. And I played double bass. I played double bass also at Chabot College in the Bay Area as well. And so there are two. So I played in jazz ensembles at Chabot. I played in wind symphony at Chabot. I also played I played in the wind symphony at Cal State East Bay. But if you play double bass, there are two really respected double bass methods, right? There's rabat and samandal. And I'm looking at double bass HQ right now. If you're interested in double bass, they're two like hand positioning systems, right? I mostly studied samandal, and but Jeff says that there's no, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, saying that there's no electric bass method. And then I'm like, well, that's not entirely true. That's not entirely true because there are tons of method books that have been around for decades. And I'm going to show you one of them. Because I remember getting this book. Excuse me. I remember this book from when I was a kid. From when I was a kid, I remember this book. I might even still have this book. Roger Filiberto, Electric Bass Method 1. Hold on a second. Okay, I just got a text in. This book has been around for a long time. And Roger Filiberto was from New Orleans as well, right? Electric Bass Method 1. This book is the answer to many requests for a thorough and carefully graded approach to the electric bass. It's a Mel Bay book. And Mel Bay has put out lots of method books that are fantastic for, whatever. However, let us look at this book just a little bit. I swear, there's old Roger. There's Roger. I'm like, I could smell this book right now. I remember getting this book as a kid, 13, 14 years old. For decades, he was a successful professional and teacher in New Orleans, where he operated one of the tops. The spelling in here is weird. Fun fact about New Orleans and about growing up in New Orleans and how different it was to grow up in New Orleans. Jonathan Bloom, who's a OG educator here in the city, he's a boomer, right? But he was telling me when he was doing a clinic at the school I was teaching at, he was saying that, once upon a time, you couldn't get a job as a math teacher in New Orleans if you didn't play piano. As a math teacher, he was basically saying, every classroom had a piano in it. When I was growing up, you could get staff paper out of the drugstore. It was just a common thing. I remember going to when I moved to California, I went to Long's Drugs and I was looking for staff paper, and they didn't know what I was talking about. I was like, staff paper, music paper you might write music on? Anyway, so let's look at this book and see, just how tedious and boring this book would be if you were, even an adult learner. This stuff makes sense to me now. It just certainly didn't make sense then. And I mean, this is a well-intentioned, very well thought out book. Practical information here. Music on, Here's the thing though. Here's the thing. Every music book, every method book I've ever seen on the electric bass, whether it's, a slap thing or a blues thing or whatever, kind of starts off with the same information here. Right? And you tell me if you're one of these people. Most people don't get past the first 5 or 6 pages. Let me know in the chat, am I right or am I wrong? Am I tripping? Most people don't get past the first few pages because they get overwhelmed with this. They're like, what do I do with this? Okay, hand position. All right, cool. This is old school. This is the pick. Look at Roger right here with his pick in his hand. I don't even know what kind of bass that is. The strings on the electric bass are generally sounded by the first and second fingers of the right hand. Some bassists play with the thumb. We do not recommend the use of the thumb. Obviously, one can develop more speed and execution with the first and second fingers. Well, tell James Jamerson that. And surely when this book was published, James Jamerson was around, right? Looks like you got a little ramp action happening there. I don't know what those things are right there, but it's a volume. This is a tone mod. I bet that bass sound good though. Whole note study. This is good stuff. Half note study. This is good stuff. But now, like I said, for those of you just joining, I had this book when I was 13, 14 years old. I remember this book well. And especially for bass. Oh, you know what? I just realized that my doohickey was on. I apologize, y'all. Let me put my... When I say my doohickey, I mean my... Let me see. Put these on. So D A A, A, D, 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 D. So if you are, here's my point about this. This is musically, like it in terms of, standard notation, getting you comfortable with the open strings. This is cool. It's sound, right? It is sound. But if you do not, I'm going to get to a point here. Just stick with me. You know what this page looks like? This page right here is the exact diagram. Hold please. I just want to prove a point here. Now, this is the Hal Leonard book, right? This is the complete edition. And I'm not gonna lie to you. Ed Friedland is one of the godfathers of this whole base education thing. Ed Friedland is a friend of mine. I talk to him quite regularly. Well, not quite regularly. I talk to him often. Ed is a good guy, and he knows his shit. So I'm not about to say nothing negative about Ed. Okay? Ed has written so many books, so much base education, right? This Hal Leonard is a complete base method. And there's a lot of like musically sound stuff in Ed Friedland's in his writings. But now I want you to look at something here. Look at the screen. That's what I'm about to say is not an admonishment on that book or this one whatsoever, because it's all sound information. But look at this. Look kind of similar, don't they? Right? It's almost like 2 + 2 = 4. Just because you learn it from Roger Filiberto and Ed Friedland doesn't make it any more true that 2 + 2 = 4. It equals 4. 2 + 2 = 4. Unless you're like, on some other planet where it doesn't equal 4. So, sound material. All of this is great. I have no problem with any of this. All of this is sound stuff. We got 3/4 time. Again, you think I'm playing? Notes on the 3rd string, otherwise known as the A string. Well, hold please. Look at Roger's fingering there. It's horrid. Rest in peace, Roger. Same thing. Looks like the same thing, right? Because how unique can you be teaching that? It is what it is. It doesn't matter where you learn it from. It is what it is. It is what it is. You think I'm playing? So you get some good, etudes. These are etudes, right? To feel. Two, three, four. Boring. Okay? Boring. Infinitely boring. Stick with me. Same thing. So we get these reviews here, right? Diatonic passages in C. Diatonic passages, cool. Study of thirds. Right, we've seen that stuff before. Lightly row. Here's where we finally come to something for you old people like me. It's like you're playing recorder in the 5th grade. Okay, cool. Right now, careless love, not careless whisper. On top of a smoky. Da, da, da. I think when I got around to this, Orange Juice says whack. It is, so here's the thing. And y'all help me out here. I know some of y'all got more experience. When you practice something, right? How do you know when you've mastered that thing? How do you know when it's time to move on? See, bass is, bass in a traditional sense is rarely going to play, a melodic thing like this, right? So you get something like this and you're like, until your ears are developed, right? Here's when the saint, da 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 dee. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 4 1, right? Until you start hearing some music out of it, then you're like, well, what am I doing this for? Introducing sharps and flats. So if you buy a book like this and you're on your own, right? What happens is you buy a book like this. I'm going to ask the question again for the people that just got here. How many books have you purchased that you haven't been able to get? This is page 22, right? How many people get this far in a book? How many people get to like page 5 and be like, fuck it, I'm done? You know what I mean? I think this kind of text is hard to get through without some guidance. So somebody type in the chat your experience with text and practicing and learning like how to get past a thing. Ooh, you know what? If you're interested in double bass too, this seems to be, I haven't been on this site in like a hot minute, but I did used to check this site out when I was playing double bass. I mean, you can kind of nerd out a little bit there on that double bass HQ. But what I want to show you is 30 etudes for string bass. I got to see if I have a digital copy of 30 etudes. Now, I haven't seen this before, but there's a piano part as well. I'm going to show you this, and it's going to be like, if you're not used to reading, it's going to be overwhelming because it's a lot of information on the page, but check it out. So here's 38. Here's a page from, this is not the double bass part though. The double bass. So this, you got the or contrabass. You have the piano accompaniment below. And so every etude is in a different key. And they teach different things. So like this is like what be all of your positions in so here's how you'd play your lower positions in on double bass. Which still like I when I'm teaching beginners particularly, I think that's the best fingering to use, a 1, 2, 3 fingering in the lower positions. So you'd learn your F, B flat, E, A, C. You do something different there, but let me show you this top line. And you'll be able to hear the music, right? So I'm gonna play it up. 1, 2. It's teaching you you hear the music, a melody. Chromatics. Phrases. Dynamics, all that stuff. Anyway, I like that book because it's musical, and I like that. Is Germanic the word I'm looking for? I like orchestral music and marches and stuff like that. I'm a little bit more well-rounded than I look. So I do enjoy that. I do enjoy that type of stuff. But there's music in there. I think it's hard to put text in front of a person who may not read and without guidance. But there is an electric bass. There are several different electric bass methods. This obviously is not one of them. This is, the Somato 38s, but there are bass methods. But what is most effective? I'm a depends. I was going to say I'm a depends kind of guy. I'm not that old yet, though. Let me read the chat here. I'm tripping. Blues Bass by Ed Friedland skips all the nonsense at the beginning. Blues Bass by Ed Friedland is wonderful. Wonderful book. Wonderful book. Absolutely wonderful. And you are correct, Orange Juice. The Blues Bass book by Ed Friedland skips all the BS. It skips all the BS, goes right to the thing. Straight to the thing. I played double bass in grade school and high school over 30 years ago. You old. Old, I can see you, yo. I'm teasing. I'm kidding. Just relax. I'm kidding. I am You are my people. You are my people. Damn, I graduated from high school over 30 years ago. That's crazy, huh? Yeah, I think every now and again I think about picking double bass up again, but then I'm like, man, I really don't have the bandwidth to like, because what I found, I played double bass half the time for only about six years. And you really have to work your ass off to be a mediocre double bass player. I mean, that was my experience. Hey, Paul. Hey, Ted, it's Paul. My first book was a guide that fit in the neck pocket of my gig bag. Oh, dude, you know what? You know what? I think I know what book you're talking about. I think I know what book you're talking about. Yeah. Even like, you know, even the trained jazz guys in back in the day, you know, the Jamersons of the world, all those cats could play jazz. And I will say that learning walking bass lines will open up the neck like nothing. Well, like few things will. Learning walking bass lines will really open up the neck. Um, but there's still sort of an oral tradition as well. You know, I don't know many church musicians that read. I didn't. I'm sure there are. I'm not at all saying that there are church musicians that don't read, but you know, a lot of the cats that I came up around, maybe not a lot. I think a lot of people have steered away from reading, but I know that a lot of that stuff is like handed down. Hey man, these movements, you know, like I was earlier today. I was like, some glad morning when this life is over, I fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I fly away. Oh, I fly away. Oh, glory, I fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I fly away. Oh, I fly away. Oh, I fly away. So there's a pattern that I learned, right? And then, you know, feel. You know what I'm saying? So like like I want you guys to talk to me a little bit more. I want to know your because I'm on a little bit of a fact finding mission as well. I just don't buy this shit that there is no method. There's lots of methods. And there's lots of caught not taught. There's lots of, you know, handed down. So here's an example. If I go, some glad morning when this life is over, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I fly away, right? I just played roots. Now, if I just learn the roots, but I have no movement, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Well, how do I make it sound like something? Okay, now let's do a 2-beat thing, and we'll do emphasize beat 1 and beat 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'm playing roots and fifths. Okay, cool. I got that. Now I'm excited about that. But I still don't have the vocabulary to say, oh, this is a fifth below or a fifth above. I don't have that vocabulary yet, right? I got. That's all I have, right? So I'm one step there. I just have this pattern. And when I was a boy, I'd be like, well, what if I wanted to play that somewhere else? Then I would do that thing, which was a different time where we didn't have the YouTube videos. There was a different time when we were, well, look at, like, if I play this here and I play this, well, if I move it here and then I play it here, there was that quest for the thing where you had to kind of search for it yourself. You understand what I'm saying? And then, yeah. You learn these patterns, right? You start learning these patterns, and it's like, well, whenever I'm in a key of C, I can play this. And it's just like plug and play, plug and play, plug and play. So I can play it, and then I can hear it. I can hear it. I can hear if I've played a note that I didn't mean to play. And then in the hearing of it part, and even in the playing of it part, right? Hearing it, playing it, say, oh, I made a mistake. Or I played a note out of context. Whoops. My Chick-fil-A just flew out my mouth. Yeah, I went to Chick-fil-A. I don't want to hear it. That was disgusting. Anyway, stay focused, people. So, wrong note. If I play a note out of context, I know that I played a note out of context. But then I have the physical ability to play. I say, oops, I didn't mean to play that note. Keep going. Oops, didn't mean to play that note. Keep going. If it's something that I need to stop and fix, I stop and fix it after the song is over. If I'm playing with people. You know what I mean? So there's that. The playing it, the hearing it, and now then the seeing it. Even if my bass wasn't there, I can see those patterns. If I played them enough, I can see those patterns under my fingers. And just address those, I can see them. Right? Under my fingers. And then can I explain it? Then I know. Y'all are going to hear me talk about this quite a bit. So I think it's important. I think it's an important litmus test. Right? If I say, okay, the first chord is C. Okay? We're in the key of C. Some glad morning when this life is over, then I'm going to the 4 chord, which happens to be F, and then back to 1, which happens to be the note C. When I die, I'm gonna go to the 6, which happens to be A. Then I'm gonna do a 2, 5. And that pattern is going to repeat all over again, right? So that's one level of explaining. I explained the harmony, went from the 1 to the 4, then from the 1 to the 6, and then I did a 2-5 turnaround. Once I learned it, I say, oh shit, a 2-5 turnaround. So if I'm in the key of C, 2 is D, G, C. And if I don't even know the notes, I know that this shape is going to be a 2-5. If I'm here, 2-5-1. And then I hear that and I'm like, oh, now I can recognize that sound. Right? I want to walk it. I had no point. I had no point to this live stream. I was just thinking about Jeff Berlin and his stance in the interview that I was watching last night, saying that there is no electric bass method. I think there are several electric bass methods. I could be wrong. I don't think I am. And no pun intended, because I know this is something that Victor says. If I'm all wrong, that's all right. I really like, truth be told, I really like Jeff, and I have great respect for him. I have great respect for his openness and honesty about, he knows what his reputation is, and he knows that he can come off as prickly, he knows that, and he's kind of been transparent, and I think it takes a special kind of guy or gal or person to be able to say in a public space, hey, look, I've been in therapy for things and yada yada. Super vulnerable, super admirable to be able to do that. But I stand by the notion that if you don't get people playing some actual music sooner than later, it gets lost. It gets lost. What's up, Fleece? Glad you liked that video, my man. If you guys haven't checked out my latest video on modes, I think you'll really like that. I think I'm pretty proud. I think this is a good video. I think there's a lot of value in that video. Basically talking about the modes I think you ought to learn first and really have a good command of. Music is infinite, right? And there's no way that any of us are going to know it all before we check out of here. And so why should we wait? Why should we wait to know so much before we play? When I was an elementary school music teacher, when I was doing the head, shoulders, knees, and toes thing, with little kids. First of all, I miss teaching little kids because little kids are fearless. They are fearless. They will sing and dance and all this stuff, but you don't teach music to little kids by showing them right away notation. I certainly didn't. Pedagogically it doesn't work for little kids. We're all musical. All of us, sing something when we're little. We hum something. We hear things, and then we introduce the ta, ti, ti, ta, and all that stuff, So anyway, I would not discourage anyone from reading. Learning how to read music ain't gonna do nothing but help you. Even if you read just a little bit. If there's a book on reading that I would recommend, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what the book is. It is called Reading Contemporary Electric Bass is the book. I'm going to drop a link. Get out of here with this ad stuff. Hang on a second. I'm going to get you. Reading Contemporary Electric Bass is the book, and it's by Rich Appelman. And I think it is a great book because I'm going to drop this in the chat. Just about any gig. I mean, it has very practical, what you would see on like real gigs. You know what I mean? Real bass parts, right? I really like it. Now, it is also maybe a wee bit like the Mel Bay book I showed you earlier, where you're like, what do I do with this type of thing? But right here, you got section 1, which is regular bass line rhythms with walking bass and 2 feel. So every note here is the note C, but you got to read those rhythms. And I also like that it's handwritten. It's handwritten, so it's not perfect, right? I really like that. Something about that I like. I always admired when people could write out music. My handwriting is aight, but writing music out is a real art. You got your quarter notes, your quarter note rest. We introduce eighth notes in a really natural way. Eighth note triplets, right? This is a very you would see it would be nothing to see something like this in musical theater, for instance, but like something like this too. Like I was saying before about reading anything, getting a text without some guidance, you may not realize that reading that by yourself, you may struggle with muting. You may not know what to do with that, right? But then having some guidance on that, you're still working out some other stuff. I was recording some content today for the Groove School, and I was thinking about the facility that I have in my plucking hand. And I'm like, that's not something I learned from a book. It's not something I learned from a book, and it's not something that someone taught to me. I may have had some help refining it later on, but it really came from just kind of, and also being an 80s, 70s and 80s kid, once we got a VCR in the house, I'm like tearing up tapes, slowing down. Like, how is he doing that? What is, anytime I could see something, but this is a good book. Anyway, I just did I put it in the chat, the link for this book? I thought I did. If I didn't, There it is again. Anyway, y'all, I didn't plan on going live. It's been 45 minutes. I've been running my mouth about nothing. But let me know in the chat, even once I get off, what are you practicing and how are you practicing it? And have you ever bought a book and not been able to get past like page 5? What books have you bought where you've been able to really get through the whole thing? Holla at you, boy. I want to know. I want to know. All right, y'all. I'll catch y'all later. Peace. 2 fingers.